Okay. I think it's really interesting that if you were to ask people sitting in an emergency waiting room why the emergency room's packed and no one's being seen and people are waiting for hours on end, most people will respond with, well, they're really busy. Well, that's true. The one doctor on duty is really busy. One night several months ago, my husband came into an emergency room on a stretcher from an ambulance and laid there for 10 hours. As I watched the clock ticking and watched people walking around with notepads and doing very little, I asked the emergency room receptionist, why do we have people stacked up in the waiting room? We have people sitting on gurneys like my husband for 10 hours, not being seen by a physician. Where are the physicians? She goes, well, the one physician's really busy. And I said, well, obviously, if there's only one physician, they would be really busy. Why is there only one physician? Well, she informed me, under federal laws that we know very little about, that in order to call yourself an emergency room, you're only required to have one physician on duty. You can have a list of physicians that the hospital may choose to call, but they don't have to. Most people really don't know that hospitals are for-profit organizations. They're not interested in calling in more physicians because it cuts into their profit. Therefore, you will sit in the lobby for an inordinate amount of time waiting for the one very busy physician to see you. Even if we were to attempt to get right-to-know legislation in this state, which I doubt seriously would happen, patient care is not going to improve. Most people don't understand that hospitals are for-profit. They don't understand that one physician is required to be on duty to constitute an emergency room. People do not understand the legislation. Hospitals ensure that you and I as patients don't know the policies. Good luck with finding the policies that regulate emergency rooms. We don't have federal guidelines that adequately meet the needs of patients. And until we get right-to-know legislation that demands that you and I as patients know what's happening, know what the requirements are, know their profitability, nothing is going to change.